Good morning, guys. It's Mrs. Stevenson. We are going to continue with our Wayside School story. Today we're going to read chapters 6 and 7. So chapter 6, Pet Day. And look at all the different animals. I wish we had a pet day at school. But then I don't want anyone to get sick from allergies, so we'll just leave it at Wayside. All the kids in Mrs. Jewell's class brought a pet to school. The room was very noisy. Dogs barked, cats meowed, frogs croaked, pigs squealed, a cow mooed, birds tweet tweet. Mrs. Jules held up 2 fingers. All the animals became quiet. Stephen didn't have a pet, so he brought an orange. He kept it in a cage on his desk so it couldn't escape. Todd brought Ralphie, his baby brother. Todd? Asked Mrs. Jules. Todd barked. You cannot have a pet human, said Mrs. Jules. Oh, he doesn't bite, Todd assured her. Joy told Todd to sit and be quiet. Mrs. Jules got a large piece of poster board from the supply closet. Let's make a chart, she said. Across the top of her chart, she wrote, name of kid, kind of pet, name of pet. She started with Dee Dee. She wrote Dee Dee under name of kid. And you have a dog, she said. Cat, said Dee Dee. Cat, said Mrs. Jules. Dee Dee nodded as she petted her dog. Mrs. Jules moved on to Ron. Ron, I see you have a cat. Dog, said Ron as he stroked the cat on his lap. Mrs. Jules shrugged. Okay. He's my dog, said DJ. Ron has your dog? Asked Mrs. Jules. Ron has a cat, said DJ. That's what I thought, said Mrs. Jules. But what's a dog? Said Jenny. Mrs. Jules covered her ears and shook her head. Let's start all over, said Mrs. Jules. She got a new piece of paper from the supply closet. Mac, what's your dog's name? What's my dog's name? Said Jenny. I'm not talking to you, Jenny. I'm talking to Mac. He can't talk, said Mac. Who can't talk? Asked Mrs. Jules. Mac, said Mac. Billy barked at Mac. Mac barked at Billy. Todd barked at both of them. Joy made Todd lie down by her feet. I am so confused. Are you guys as confused as I am? All right, Mrs. Jules moved on. What's your pet, Myron? She asked. Your pet's a turtle, said Sherry. What? Asked Mrs. Jules. What is Jenny's pet? Said Sherry. Oh my goodness, I can't keep up. Jenny's pet is a dog, said Mrs. Jules. What's his name, Jenny? Jenny nodded. Her dog sat straight up and tall and seemed to smile at Mrs. Jules. He's handsome, said Mrs. Jules. My mouse is handsome, said Benjamin. Benjamin had a little white mouse in a cage on his desk. If you like mice, said Dana. Mrs. Jules likes mice, said Calvin. She eats them. I'm missing some information here. Gross, said Dana. He won't come when you call him, said Kathy. He doesn't know his name. Billy meowed. Will Mrs. Jules eat yogurt? Asked John. No way, said Calvin. I will too, said Mrs. Jules. I like yogurt. I like strawberry the best. Mauricia beamed. Mrs. Jules likes strawberry the best, she bragged. You shouldn't pick favorites, complained Dana. Do you like crackers, Mrs. Jules? Asked Rondi. Don't worry, said Calvin. Mrs. Jules won't eat crackers. How do you know what I'll eat? Calvin, asked Mrs. Jules, a little annoyed. I like eating crackers with cheese on top. Oh, gross, said Myron. He won't come when you call him, Kathy said again. Mac, keep Mac away from my socks, shouted Allison. Wait, said Jason. Now you've got my socks and I've got your socks. I can tell the difference between my socks and your socks, Jason. Mrs. Jules covered her ears and shook her head. She moved on. What's your pet, Damien? She asked. I already told you he was a turtle, said Sherry. I wasn't talking to you, Sherry, said Mrs. Jules. I was talking to Damien. Your nose a ferret, said Damien. My nose a ferret, asked Mrs. Jules. My nose a hamster, said Joe. Ugh, Billy bleated. Mrs. Jules licked her leg. This is getting very, very strange. Hey, Paul, said Leslie. I like your pigtails. Thanks, said Paul. May I touch your pajamas? Go ahead, said BB, who was already petting Leslie's pajamas. She won't scratch you. This is crazy, said Terrence. He's cute, said Dana. I agree with Terrence. This is crazy. Oh, I see. So I'm going to leave this chart up of the pet names so that you guys can take a gander. So look at their names. That's why we were all confused. Their pets have very strange names. Give you another minute, because that is just too odd for me. All right. So they were all talking about their animals, and their animals, some of them have the same names as the teacher or the other students. Some of them have the names of food. Very strange. Very strange. All right, chapter 7. A bad word. Ooh, I don't know. I don't like bad words. I hope I don't have to say a bad word. Early in the morning, a white limousine drove up to Wayside School. Just like always. The chauffeur got out of the car and then opened the passenger door. Just like always. Mr. Kidswatter stepped out of the car. "Thank you, James," he said. "My name's David," said the chauffeur. Just like always. Mr. Kidswatter entered the school building. "Good morning, Mr. Kidswatter," said Mrs. Day, the school secretary. She handed him a cup of hot coffee. Just like always. "Thank you, Miss Knight," said Mr. Kidswatter, and he walked into his office. Except his office door was closed. He smashed into it, spilling coffee all over his green suit. "Who closed my door?" he demanded. "Why didn't you just open it?" asked Mrs. Day. "It's always open in the morning," said Mr. Kidswatter. "How was I supposed to know it was going to be closed this time?" Up on the 30th story, Mrs. Jules took roll call. She was seeing who was here. Todd was absent. "Oh dear, I hope Todd is all right," said Mrs. Jules. "Todd's never all right," said Joy. She and Mauricia laughed. Damien looked at Mrs. Jules. Ever since he returned to Wayside School, he thought there was something different about her. But he still couldn't figure out what it was. Mr. Kidswatter's voice came over the PA system. "Good morning, boys and girls." That was the usual pause. "Today I want to talk about doors." "Oh, well, this should be interesting," said Mrs. Jules. "Do you know how many doors there are in this school building?" asked Mr. Kidswatter. Mrs. Jules shook her head. "Well, there are a lot, over 30, and some of you probably have doors at home too, maybe more than one. All those doors, think about it." "Well, Mr. Kidswatter has certainly given us something to think about this morning," said Mrs. Jules. "So remember," said Mr. Kidswatter, "and always be careful. Always check to see if a door is open before going through it, and if it's not open, open it. If you can't open it yourself, ask someone to open it for you. This may not make a lot of sense to you now, but someday you will thank me." Mrs. Jules looked around the class. "That's good advice," she said. "I think most of you already knew it, but at least it's nice to know we have a principal who cares." "I hate doors," shouted Mr. Kidswatter. "It's a dumb word. Door, door, door. Who made up that word anyway?" Mrs. Jules waited a little longer, but Mr. Kidswatter seemed to be finished. "Some people just don't like doors," she said. "That's it. I have made a new rule," declared Mr. Kidswatter. "You may no longer say that word. You know what word I mean. Don't say it. Instead, I have made up a new word for you. Guzak. Open the Guzak, shut the Guzak, lock the Guzak. Don't you think that's a better word? I do. From now on, that other word is a bad word. I've made my decision." Everyone turned around and looked at the Guzak. Suddenly it opened. Todd entered. "Sorry I'm late," he said. "That's okay," said Mrs. Jules. "I'm just glad you're not sick or hurt." "My dad locked his keys in the car," Todd explained. "We had to use a coat hanger to unlock the door." Everybody gasped. Mrs. Jules made Todd write his name on the blackboard under the word discipline because he said door. And door was now a bad word at school. Was that fair? Do you guys think that was fair? I don't think that was very fair either. Poor Todd had just come to school. He didn't know the new rule. But he did come in right after, and it does take a while to walk up the 30 flights of stairs, so maybe he did hear it over the intercom system. Something to think about. All right, guys, I hope you have a great weekend. I will see you Monday for our art lesson. Bye.